Do you suffer from anxiety, from depression, maybe even chronic pain? Well, listen up. Truth Be Told is going to tell you about a breakthrough program built on over 100 years of therapies used in America's returning veterans to help you successfully overcome PTSD, anxiety attacks, pain, and depression. The secret proven in study after study. Music therapy. The effects of music are nothing short of amazing. From strokes to PTSD, music has been shown to improve the quality of life. Now, one of the latest music therapy programs being used in America's veteran hospitals can be yours to experience for free at home and to help your own anxiety attacks, pain, and depression. Or just relax after a hard day. It's called Whole Tones. It takes music therapy to a new level. This revolutionary program makes use of specifically designed frequencies that have been shown to stimulate your body's natural healing power down to a cellular level. If it works for battle-scarred vets, can it work for you? Well, experience it for yourself for free at sweetwholetones.com. Like Tony Sweet, that's S-W-E-E-T. Go to sweetwholetones.com. Now enjoy the show.
What's your thoughts on government cover-ups or covert societies attempting to control humanity? Do you believe in ancient astronauts, intergalactic communication, or extraterrestrial visitations? Ever had an experience with disembodied spirits or the paranormal universe? Are these subjects fact or fiction? Each week, Tony and Eddie explore these unbelievable realities and beyond. Exclusively on Truth Be Told.
Hello and welcome back to another broadcast of Truth Be Told with Tony and Eddie. I'm your host, Tony Sweet, and with me now is world-renowned psychic Eddie Connor.
Welcome, everybody. So here's the question. What is the real history of the New World? And who really traveled to the Americas long before 1492? Well, we're going to find out today.
That's right, Eddie. And for over 25 years, our guest, Carl Lehrburger, has studied archaeological and sacred sites in North America with a focus on an ancient old world peoples in America before Columbus.
Wow. In his book, Secrets of Ancient America, Carl shares more than 300 photographs and drawings, and this is including Celtic ruins in New England, Gaelic inscriptions in Colorado, as well as Asian symbols in the West, which also reveals Celtic, Hebrew, Roman, early Christian, Templar, Egyptian, Chinese, and Japanese influences, Tony, in North American artifacts as well as ruins. Let's please put our hands together, everybody, and welcome to Truth Be Told with Tony and Eddie, author Carl Lehrburger. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Truth Be Told. How are you doing today, Carl?
Couldn't be better, you guys. Hi, Tony, and hi, Eddie, and greetings to Truth Be Told radio listeners.
Yay!
Yay! Well, we're excited to have you here. We this is one of these subjects. I'm a big history buff, especially about America. That's something that I've always been since I was a kid. But this is right up my alley. But some of the stuff that you talk about, I'm like, I didn't know. I'm like, this is not taught in our school system.
which is why we get so seduced easily by passionate people like you who are not in the mainstream media, as it were, and you're educating us on things that we feel should be in mainstream, schools and that sort of thing. So I want to launch right out with what is the real history of the New World. It's what we were opening with. And who really did travel to the Americas long before 1492, Carl? We can take it. We're ready.
Okay. Well, maybe a great jumping off point is what Tony said about not being taught in the schools our history. Mm-hmm. And that was really my frustration as I learned more and more about the travelers that came to the New World, so to speak, North America and South America, long before Columbus, and that we didn't get the correct history in our education. So part of my motivation for writing this book was to literally try to change the paradigm of what we're taught about our history. And I got into this vast subject in 1986. after decades of really travel and looking at runes and the Mayan runes and the Anasazi runes, but with not so much an eye to studying it more intuitively. I need to be here. This is important. This is fun. But in 1986, I read the book America BC by Dr. Barry Fell. And this book really not only impacted me dramatically, but many of my colleagues who I've met along the journey. And Dr. Fell revealed a history of America that was nothing like anything we had learned in school or I had been taught, or was, and it was quite at odds with the archaeological paradigm. And that, in summary, states that Columbus was not first, but he was the last discover or explorer in America.
But he gets a holiday.
Long before Columbus, we had many, many cultures, many different peoples that came to America, both as miners, as traders, also as refugees, consistent with our modern day America, a vision of a multicultural America. Before Columbus and the Christianization of America, we had a multicultural continent here.
Really?
So the whole point of the book was really to try to, not through speculation, but actually through evidence found in the rock art, in the petroglyphs, the writings that were left by these ancient travelers that we can now read. And what we learn is not only about these ancient cultures, many of which have almost literally been forgotten in their old countries, such as the Mithric religion and symbols found in Europe but destroyed by the church. But we find Mithraic or Persian sun god temples in Oklahoma. And people don't know about this because the archaeologist, or the archaeo-priesthood as I like to refer to it, which is the combination of the church and the archaeological community that really want to keep us in the dark and keep us from the rich history that we truly have. We all have a lot to discover about American history and a lot to discover about our own personal history.
What do you think it is that makes a small group of people, I like to think of them as tiny penises and big egos, that come in, regardless of who they are, to constantly create a sense of segregation, to keep people in the dark about what the truth is? Because what you just described is something I always fantasized about as a kid. I'm a white kid. I grew up in North Carolina. We were dirt poor. Because we were poor, we got to know Latinos and Mexicans and African Americans and other people. Because if you're poor, you all got lumped in together. And I loved that. I loved that mix. But now when I got older, it was like the white people were over here and the Indians were over there. And I used to literally dream about a place where I could live where it would be multicultural. Everybody would be interacting, and it would be a community where we all come together. I literally, Carl, used to visualize that I'd like to buy the world of Coke and teach at Harmony and stand on the mountaintop with people from all over the world and sing. But it sounds like that world that existed before these people came in and started segregating and then tearing it down and then paving over it as if it never happened. Why, and how many times have you seen that type of thing happen in your explorations? And why do you think it happens?
Well, the biggest challenge that we face in overcoming the old paradigm is really breaking through long-held beliefs by educators, by archaeologists, by anthropologists, by historians, and even Native Americans themselves. And part of the old paradigm is being closed to new research, closed to ideas that are somewhat contradictory to what we were taught, and most importantly, the willingness on the part of our fellow citizens, whether they be academians or researchers, is to admit that perhaps we could be wrong.
Yeah.
And what we've been telling people as historians and archaeologists for centuries is wrong. And it's the failure to be able to muster up the intellectual strength to admit that one has been wrong and be open-minded about undertaking a true scientific investigation of the evidence, but before saying that, no, the Celts weren't here for thousands of years before Columbus, or yes, the Celts were here, and here's the evidence. Now, so often, the archaeopriests, the archaeologists, so easily dismiss the evidence that they won't even take the time to go to these sites, some of them which are accessible, or review the research, some of which, in the case of the Celts in New England, the Celts in Oklahoma and Colorado and Kansas, has been very well documented, scientifically documented. So really, what we're up against is irrationality, that those who claim to be scientific deny the scientific method. Those who claim to be academians and thorough scientific researchers won't even visit the sites that provide the evidence and the smoking gun proof that the Celts traveled through North America, that the Mediterranean peoples and cultures, including the Phoenicians, undertook mining operations, left their inscriptions in stone for us to read, that Hindu travelers made it to the West Coast, leaving their marks in stone for us to uncover. And in between, we have scores of different peoples from Europe, from Asia, that made it to America. Many, if not most, we don't know about, but in a few cases, through understanding of history, through reading the rocks, we're able to document that they were here. I want to make an important point that in my book, Secrets of Ancient America, and people can find out more information about Secrets of Ancient America at www.newhistoryofamerica.com. But most of my explorations in Secrets of Ancient America was a review of North American rock art and documenting the evidence of Celtic travelers as well as other old world peoples that made it to America. And in the book, I document about what I call 7 smoking gun cases of using these petroglyphs and being able to, with the help of other epigraphers and research, read them. But I want to make the case that of these examples of old world travelers in the New World, such as petroglyphs, it is very scant. Of the millions of petroglyphs that we find in North America in particular, probably the largest repository of petroglyphs in the world, only, I would say, a few score, that is dozens of the millions, really we can categorically say, hey, these came from Celtic-speaking people, or these came from peoples from the Mediterranean who were of the Phoenician descent. It's only a very little bit. And of these cases, most of the sites have not even had archaeological explorations undertaken to even look at the potential for artifacts. But I make the case in the book that the artifacts are really plentiful if one's willing to go to these sites and read the message that has been left by the ancient travelers who crisscrossed this country millennia before Columbus.
All right, so I'm originally from Kansas, and before we get into, I would like to actually, because you sent some pictures, but I also would like to go to, because like even Oklahoma is next door to Kansas, Colorado is next door to Kansas. I would like to talk about these specific sites where they're located, if I might, but I want to go back a little bit because what I find fascinating about your journey. You, in the 70s or 60s and 70s, you were an environmental activist, and anti-nuclear, anti-war, Earth Day, all that good stuff. And then I see where it says you also had a kind of not a fascination. Well, you said fascination actually in your bio. It says about garbage and waste utilization, which I find it fascinating that your career, and then you made this transition. And I don't believe that just the book America BC began your journey. So I want to find out the journey of seeking the truth had to start before there. So what was it about? Because there's something about you that you can tell that you've been this way most of your life.
Like you were born
You were
hardwired to this. You just had a knowing, an instinct, an innate ability, and you just sensed something and you just jumped on it.
Right. So were you like this from as a child, or were your parents influential, or what was it?
Before the book?
Well, the short answer is it has to be yes. But I would say this, that I wish I would have known, Tony, that you were from Kansas, because I would have definitely sent you some of the photos from the book from Kansas that you can post. But nevertheless, you ask a big question, and I guess the answer is that like Eddie and perhaps like you, Tony, I came into this world really very close to the veil, so to speak, and spent quite a bit of my time and explorations of life, not on the outward side, but more on the inner path. And so, I did come into this world as an intuitive. I did choose the esoteric path. And at some point, it flipped, and my inner work I did enough of that. It's time to get something done. I don't have much time. We got a mission down here, so let's get it done. And that passion manifested itself in renewable energy. And I've been a renewable energy advocate and entrepreneur all my life. And part of being a renewable energy analyst, entrepreneur, and businessman is directly connected with the study of waste, and with the goal of proving to everyone there is no such thing as waste, except in our society, where we actually do waste things and they end up in landfills. I became a garbologist. I'd like to believe a master garbologist, somebody who studies the waste stream and how we get rid of waste. And I don't mean dispose of it, but how to completely eliminate even the concept of waste, because it's a very foreign concept to nature. So that has led through a very exciting career. I wish more profitable. But anyone who takes on the existing paradigm, whether it be in history, archaeology, or in technology evolution, are certainly up against the forces of reaction. They don't want to see change. So this is right up to the very moment of my renewable energy career, where I'm very much involved in the industrial hemp revolution in America, developed with other scientists and engineers at purehemptechnology.com. That's purehemptech.com, TECH, a new process to produce valuable products out of industrial hemp. So you guys need to bring me back one day, and I can wind me up and talk about industrial hemp.
Of course, that'd be great.
The benefits of hemp and what's going on with these crazy, wacky laws, and why did such an incredible plant that's been utilized by humans for 10,000 years all of a sudden become illegal in 1937 in America. It's an incredible story. But to come full circle, both my work with renewables and my work in the field of rock art and history really is rooted in a passion for changing the paradigm. And really that's how I get here at this table talking to you guys, and I'm honored to be doing it, and really have the capability and the honor in this life to really have two passions and really be able to fulfill both of them. The overarching goal of my book is that I had so much information from my teachers and from my colleagues and fellow explorers and discoverers that my head was about to burst, and I couldn't understand why the major media of our day, including the National Geographic, the Smithsonian magazine, none of these mainstream magazines or outlets would even come close to touching this subject. I mean, you might in National Geographic, for example, get a story about the Vikings having made it to Canada or
Right.
Scandinavia, or and a little bit of acknowledgement that wow, the Vikings might have made it here to America before Columbus, but that's about as close as you come. And I personally measure how far we've come in this field of really understanding our history, understanding that Columbus was last, that he was not first, that he did not discover America. And before we had this Christian nation, we had a multicultural nation. And the measure of my success, the measure of our collective success, of my colleagues, of those that are still with us, like Gunnar Thompson, Phil Leonard, Ida Jane Gallagher. There are many diffusionists still with us, those many that have not, have over generations, Gillespie, Barry Fell, David Kelly. I mean, there's hundreds of investigators, researchers, authors that have, including Susan Martinez, your guest before, who have delved into not just the big picture and generalities, but the specific research, the specific sites, the specific petroglyphs, interpreting them. What do they mean? The specific archaeoastronomy alignments that are very intimate with the language of these old world peoples. And what we're all collectively trying to get across is that we've been lied to about our history, that Columbus was last, and that this misrepresentation of our history lives in our foreign policy, lives in how we treat other peoples, lives in how the Native American community has been decimated by the conquest and the resulting whitewashing of Native cultures. So we have objective ways to measure our progress, and guys, I'm sad to say that my book or none of my colleagues' books yet have overthrown this paradigm. So you're a part of getting this word out. You're a part of the story of building the information and building our stakeholder group, those people that are enlightened, that want to be enlightened, that want to wake up in this lifetime to the truth. And part of that is overcoming the lies that we've been taught, and it really begins with the most fundamental lies about our nation, that no, Columbus did not discover America. He was last, not first.
Well, first of all, you need to come out of your shell. You're so shy. I know. I love it. I love the passion. When you said, into waste, you're taking what you did as a career into this now, writing a book, because you're studying waste of knowledge that our government, our school systems, our society has wasted our minds on the crap that they've been feeding us and not the truth of to us. It seems so simple. It's like, what's the big deal? What's the big deal if Columbus did not discover America, that he was the last person to discover it? What's the big deal? And I remember watching, I think it was on the History Channel last year, and I don't remember the actual name. I think like America, Unexplained. Unearthed, where they talked about, I think the Vikings in, was it Minnesota or Colorado or Oklahoma or something, and it was really like, wow, I didn't really, that it was that far down. I didn't think they went that far down.
There's lots of stuff.
Yeah,
like
but
that.
No, it was the you're specifically referencing one of many artifacts, and
right.
The archaeopriest and the archaeologist say, hey, there are no artifacts. Well, in Minnesota, there's the stone called the Kensington Rune Stone, and it actually has a date. I don't remember exactly the date, but it's like 1311.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
Is an inscription in runes of this group of Icelanders came here, and they were exploring, and they tell their whole little story on this stone. And you can read about it, and it gives a date, and it gives the names, and it gives the places. And
you can't deny that.
It's denied. This is not evidence. This is a fake. Well, this is the standard line we hear from the archaeo-priesthood. Whenever we do have evidence, it is denied as evidence. And for the craziest reasons, many of them, the reason is it couldn't be. They couldn't have been here. And sometimes the evidence is that can't be true. I'm too lazy to go to the site and check it out for myself. Or what we hear most often is, that is coming from Barry Fell. And Barry Fell has no credibility in anything that he said, or anyone associated with him is wrong and is misrepresenting history. Well, it is true, and I reference Barry Fell as one of my mentors, and is somebody who did really get this thing of the new history of America going. And we've got to say, Barry Fell made mistakes. And all researchers make some mistakes to a greater or lesser extent. And in Barry's case, he made some pretty big mistakes. For example, he would take a drawing of an inscription, and then he would interpret it and say, hey, this is a Celtic inscription or this, without seeing it himself or checking the drawing. And certainly that was not good research. Nevertheless, what the archaeo-priesthood has done is throw the baby out with the bathwater. And in spite of some inconsistencies in Fell's research and some methodology mistakes, he paved the way. He presented petroglyphs, interpreted them as inscriptions that no one else has ever done, and in many cases he nailed the source of those inscriptions. So we got to give credit to Dr. Fell as well as criticize Dr. Fell when he did make mistakes. But to suggest, as the archaeo-priests and the academians do, that Barry Fell has no credibility, and that he didn't anyone associated with his work, and read all diffusionist scholars, are not credible. So this is the challenge. And what we really need more than anything else, and again, breaking through the paradigm, is we need the next generation of social scientists, of archaeologists, of anthropologists, of epigraphers, those that study ancient languages, cultural anthropologists. We need a new generation that's not afraid of the stigma that, you're a diffusionist, or what I'm publishing might contradict what my teachers taught me. And so it's this next generation of explorers using not only scientific methods, but advanced technologies, for example, advanced photography, that's really going to unlock a lot of secrets that even the diffusionists like myself and colleagues that have come before me have not discovered. It's a rich landscape out there. And just before I turn it back over to you, as an example of what I'm talking about, if you go to the Four Corners area of Colorado and New Mexico and Arizona and Utah, known for its vast Anasazi ruins, there's hundreds of thousands of petroglyphs, thousands of sites. And in the summertime, you will see scores of archaeologists combing these sites with dozens and dozens of graduate students and independent researchers looking at these Anasazi ruins, which is great. There's not a problem with that. But maybe 100 or 200 miles away are unexplored sites that seem to have connections with old world peoples and old world travelers. And you won't find any of these archaeologists or graduate students even wanting to get in or explore these sites. It's like that's the kiss of death for an academician. if you want to succeed in academia, you are not going to write an article about how Asian symbols made it into the Great Basin, or how Celtic Ogham writing made it to New England. You're not going to advance because you're not towing the line, and that's the problem. So this is how we're going to measure how successful collectively we all are in overcoming the paradigm, by what is being taught to our kids in school, by what's being taught at the college level, and by what National Geographic and the Smithsonian and Archaeology Today are publishing, and put another way, are censoring, which is what we have today, a censored history.
Well, I have a good one when we come back. We're going to take a quick break I'll talk, and I think it was on, what was that TV show again we talked about the
America on Earth?
Yes.
Produced by Scott Walter.
Yes.
And got some great examples, and many of the materials that he talks about in his shows are discussed in the book as well. For example, the Kensington Runestone, Anubis Caves, and Crack Cave.
But when we come back from the break, I'm going to ask you, and we're going to go through these pictures because we have a lot of pictures I want to show, but about the Smithsonian kind of pushing under the rug the pyramids in the Grand Canyon. Do you remember that?
I wish I remembered it, but I heard about it.
Okay, well, then I won't mention too much. But we'll talk about it when we come.
I wish I could say I was there and I can tell you about it, but I'll tell you why I wasn't there and why I can't talk too much about it.
Well, because one thing, you weren't born yet. So, all right. Well, this is Truth Be Told with Tony and Eddie.
I'm Eddie Connor.
And I'm Tony Sweet, and we have
Carl Lehrburger with us. He's the author of Secrets of Ancient America. He also shares more than 300 photographs and drawings, which Tony's going to pull up whenever we come back after a break. And it includes Celtic ruins in New England, Gaelic inscriptions in Colorado, and Asian symbols in the West, and a whole lot more. So come back in just a minute, you guys.
Don't go anywhere. We hope you're enjoying today's show, which is sponsored by Earth Friendly Products. For over 40 years, Earth Friendly Products have brought you the greenest home merchandise for all your family needs. Learn more at ecos.com. That's ecos.com. Now back to the show. Today's show is sponsored by Adventures Unlimited Press. Take your mind on a literary journey and go to adventuresunlimitedpress.com to purchase books from our famed experts featured right here on Truth Be Told. That's adventuresunlimitedpress.com. Now, back to the show. Today's show is sponsored by Adventures Unlimited Press.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Truth Be Told with Tony and Eddie. I'm Eddie Connor.
And I'm Tony Sweet.
And we have with us Carl Lehrburger. He's the author of Secrets of Ancient America. And, Tony, we're going to turn it back over to you to jump right back into this fast-moving machine that Carl has created for us.
It's like it's going way too fast. There's so many questions. So, well, since you weren't really kind of schooled, which I don't even know much about. I just remember on the show on History Channel that they were talking about people discovering Egyptian and pyramids and artifacts in the bottom of the Grand Canyon. The Smithsonian, they did an article about it, and then all of a sudden they put it under the rug and said, we don't know what you're talking about. To this day, they've closed that whole section of the park off. Government has. You can't even get near the area where that was found, and they're like, yeah, we don't know anything about it.
So this is a big WTF moment for me. Why the heck do they do that? Why? What is the purpose?
Well, that of course is the real question, and in my book, Secrets of Ancient America, I was really left with referring to metaphors to try to get people's brain adjusted to answering your question. And one of the metaphors that I used in my book is the Planet of the Apes. And you all may remember the original Planet of the Apes with Charlton Heston, the movie. And at the end of the movie, the head of the Ape Science Institute, his underling chimpanzee, the archaeologist chimpanzee, he says, I've discovered the earliest examples of our cultural history, and our culture came from the humans. And the next to the last scene of that book is Dr. Zaius burning that archaeology site.
Yep.
Because he didn't want it be known that ape culture came from human culture. Okay, so very insidious ending. Well, we watch that movie and we can begin to grasp the insidious conspiracy against knowing not only who we are, which is the ultimate conspiracy.
Yep.
And Alan Watts referred to that in his book, The Taboo Against Knowing Who You Are, great book, but who we are as a culture. And it's really disguising that and the egos that go into the archaeo-priesthood claiming to know what's right for us, what's good for us, what we are capable of understanding and knowing. But at the end of the day, they are the protectors of our culture, and that they're protectors of their own significance in the universe. So that's what we're up against, the paradigm of the big fat ego.
And I'm going to throw just a little left field, but I do feel it's connected on some level. When you hear church and state, and you see how it collapses in on top of each other in our modern times, how much of that do you think was going on back then that's now starting to resurface? Because every 10,000 years, we were talking about this earlier, how stuff like this just keeps resurfacing and resurfacing, and we keep making the same stupid mistakes. So church and state, how is it involved in what you do every day in your life, Carl?
Well, what a big and what a great question. I guess I would say that in my view, human evolution has been hijacked.
Yeah,
And and a great example of that hijacking is what has been left on the rocks in the form of rock art and petroglyphs by ancient old world cultures in the New World. Literally, these old world cultures are explaining their cosmology.
Yep.
And their relationship to the cosmos, to their lifestyles as they relate to the stars and the planets.
Yes.
And the archaeological community and the archaeo-priesthood have done everything in their power to deny the existence of that knowledge, of that sacred information that was intended for us and our children. That is really the challenge that we all face, that 10,000 year cycle of information and rebirth, the age of Aquarius, rejuvenation of our spirit, of our people, is in jeopardy now because of the massive tools, the social programming tools that are in play now, that really have dumbing us down, and have denied us our heritage, our knowledge of who we are and where we've come from. So that's kind of, it's in a way, it's the dark ages. Now, on the good note, we do have programs like American Unearthed that document this. We do have writers like Barry Fell and Gunnar Thompson and Ida Jane Gallagher and David H. Kelly and really scores and scores of researchers that have taken it upon themselves to go deep, to do the good work, to do the research, and nobody's paying them to do it in this field. If you're a diffusionist scholar and you're looking at Celts in America, or you're looking at Hindus in America, or you're looking and to trace perhaps Jewish genes in Native American genes, no one's going to be patting you on the back, and no one's going to be paying you to do that research. In fact, you're jeopardizing your career, and you invoke the hostilities of many different groups. So, it's an uphill battle, and the last one to sugarcoat the message that, we're one step away from a new paradigm here. I would almost argue quite the contrary. As we have more information available, as we have more people that are ready for the message, that are working on that message, what else can we call them except the forces of darkness, including the archaeo priesthood, have also gained strength in their resources, in their ability to sway minds and to really, through propaganda, brainwash our fellow citizens.
Yep.
And
Amen.
you guys, that's what we're up against. And I give your show a lot of credit and your work. I'm so pleased to be associated with it, because the overarching goal for you guys, as well as me and so many of us light workers today, is how do we wake up, and how do we wake up from this nightmare of materialism?
Carl, I love that you said that, and we appreciate it. Since I was a little kid, and I know you have too, and I know Tony was the same way, when I was sitting in church and I was told A, B, and C, it didn't all feel right to me, period. It just didn't feel right. Now, I wasn't allowed to ask questions after day 3. I wasn't allowed to input. I wasn't allowed to be curious. We were literally little robots. Now, when we started school, about week 3, Eddie could not raise his hand anymore. He could not ask questions, because so much of what I heard and was taught didn't feel right. So as light workers, I think the very first step in moving forward to keep the paradigm going in the earth's favor and the conscious beings on earth's favor, is to trust your gut. If somebody, politician, priest, pope, whatever it is, your boss is standing in front of you spewing stuff, if it doesn't feel right, you need to trust your gut. That doesn't mean walk away from your job right then. It means line up your energy. But when we start to trust our gut, then we start getting back into the natural rhythms of nature, which makes me go to this thing about waste again. This planet has been here for like hundreds and thousands of years, and we have done more to F up the planet in the last 20 years than all of those put together just with garbage. That blows my mind. So when we stay in tune with our gut instinct, which is our feeling, don't you believe or think that we are simultaneously in the rhythm of the earth, and then we're in the ebb and flow of the universe simultaneously? And when more people wake up to that, miracles will start to happen. The paradigm, the old foundation of bullshit that we see every day will start to collapse. We're starting to see it now in the political arena in a way nobody banked on it. And we're starting to see it in other arenas too. Everything from vaccines, which is bullshit too. But then we have you out in the field doing your magic, passionately connected to source, summoning that life force energy, doing formats like this, and it is building the new foundation and simultaneously tearing down the old rhetoric. I really believe that.
Eddie, that was good.
Well, Carl's got me all fired up over here.
See what you did,
Well,
Carl?
those are good words, Eddie. Good words.
Yeah.
All right. Well, no, we have about 10 more minutes. I'm going to add 3 extra minutes to it because this is too good. This is too good because I'll actually go back to what I was talking about. I just want to show this article. It was actually from 1909. Exploration in the Grand Canyon, mysteries of immense, rich caverns being brought to light. Remarkable finds indicate ancient people migrated from the Orient. This was in 1909. This was in the Arizona Gazette. And then the Smithsonian stepped in, and it was gone. And so after that,
which is one of hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, and I've heard that from many, from giants to all kinds of
Well, that particular case I didn't highlight in the book, but of course it was discussed. You can't really highlight it because, as you point out, the only evidence that anything ever happened were 3 front page newspaper stories in the local Arizona newspaper. And so, like so many rabbit holes, you just, as you pointed out in your introduction of the topic, you cannot get in that cave in the Grand Canyon. It's roped off. It has been roped off. The Smithsonian denies that they were even there. And it's just, we could talk about it, but there's many, many different cases.
Right.
I sent you some photos of a very similar situation, not on quite that scale, but of a
let's
cover-up of Old World traveler petroglyphs in Colorado.
Which one
and
is that?
These were known. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Is that? Go ahead and guide me through these.
Yeah. It's the Central Colorado Ogum. I think in the header it said cover up. If they came through, there were 2 photographs. But in any event, there was a series of caves outside of Denver that had this ancient Celtic writing in it, and good enough so that it can be interpreted and read. And the cave specifically discussed a habitation site for travelers that made it this far, all in Celtic, written in Celtic. Well, we studied that, and some of the writing was interpreted and published by scholars. I cited that in my book. But lo and behold, I went out there one day, and they had backfilled that site. And you cannot see any of those petroglyphs. It's been completely covered up. And it's just one more example of the great cover-up that we find, that much of our history is disappearing in front of our eyes. And in some cases, it's blatant vandalism. In other cases, it's complete ignorance. But whatever the rationale, and it's even more insidious than that, it's like Dr. Zaius in The Planet of the Apes. He's actually destroying the evidence.
Yep.
No matter what it is, this is not an act of any one individual.
Right.
This is evil, a force of darkness, in our midst. And that's why the importance of awakening, that's why the importance of really getting beyond the TV mentality, or take the truth as it's dished out. And I couldn't agree more with you, Eddie, that we each have a responsibility to go deep within ourselves. And if you're watching 5 hours of commercial TV today, which is about an hour of commercials, you're not going deep.
No.
You're going deep into advertisement land. You're going deep into being brainwashed by the media. So freeing ourselves from the bondage really is a sacrifice. We have to sacrifice something to gain something, and that's been missing. That willingness to give up for a greater good, that willingness to let go for that intrinsic, inherent gold, that not the material gold, but the spiritual gold. That's the mission.
And newsflash, every major government in the world has studied how to brainwash their citizens, period. And so when you're sitting and watching TV like that and you think you're just sort of doing a mindless thing, you are being programmed to be the robot that they want you to be. Or you can tune into Truth Be Told with Tony and Eddie and listen to Carl Lehrburger.
Right?
Wake your ass up to the higher light of consciousness and get you tuned in and turned on again.
And I'm okay. I'm not seeing the labels on the pictures, so I'm just going to start with them, and I want you to explain what these are, because the people have been waiting. I've been talking about
it. I know.
So
they're in the chat room. They're like, share the pictures.
So I'm going to go ahead and show this picture, Carl. You can see it. So tell us what this picture is, and explain it so the people that are listening to the podcast and don't see the video.
And we'll move to them quickly.
Good. This is a drawing by Martin Brennan, a fellow researcher, of a petroglyph in Oklahoma. It's a main panel of what is known as Anubis Cave, and it is really a representation of the sun god, European sun god Mithras. And what transpires at sunset on the equinox is a phenomenal alignment that will only work on that particular day. And it's the Anubis there on the upper right-hand corner with the flail on it. That is an Egyptian a god.
Oh, wow.
Anubis, and he's here in a Celtic setting as the Lord of Night. So as the sun sets and the sun god goes into shadow, the Anubis character, a canine with the flail, the Egyptian god of the dead or of the night, is enlightened is still in light. And it's through archaeoastronomy on this one day of the equinox, we get insight into the cosmology of the Mithraic folks, of the Mithraic religion, as the sun god dies, or the soul dies. It is reborn on the equinox, equal day, equal night. So this is one of the many images from Anubis cave that also include Celtic goddesses.
And then there's the actual picture.
There's the actual cave itself. These images are very hard to see, especially when the light comes in. And within this one image, you could write a book. There's enough different languages. Not only is there Celtic Ogham, but there's Libyan written in this panel. And wow. It's like it's an incredible mystery to it's like being at Stonehenge on the solstice, or Newgrange on the winter solstice, to sit at these sacred sites and see the intentionality of magic that takes place on specific days is really an amazing experience, and something that all Americans should have the opportunity to see, if not on some of these public sites, to be able to get into and see them with the proper protection and education provided, but also access on movies and videos. So that is one of the most extensive Celtic sites in North America.
That's great.
And there's
Oklahoma.
more information in those caves about the Persian Mithraic religion and the Roman Mithras religion. You'll find more information in Oklahoma than you find throughout Europe.
That is crazy.
Meanwhile, and storytelling is such an important, and has always been such a huge, valuable importance to all of the communities, all around the world, especially the ancient communities, and we're losing that.
Oh, I agree.
And so this is a factual storytelling thing here, and then they just
in Oklahoma, of all
I know,
places.
and then they keep destroying them. It's so sad.
And I'm going to go ahead. Go ahead, Carl.
Well, I was going to say that there's a huge story about the Celts, and the main area that they initially inhabited was in New England, and they got there because they were mining copper. But you can go to New England, and there are still many of these ancient Celtic sites. One, a public site known as America's Stonehenge, you can actually visit. But from their stronghold in New England, the Celts set out, and we really should be calling it New Ireland rather than New England, since it was originally inhabited by the Celts. But following the rivers and the Mississippi, and finally they made their way to the Arkansas and down the tributaries of the Purgatory and the Cimarron. They made their way through Kansas, central Kansas. And by the way, Tony, we don't disclose these sites. The public ones we do. But as preservationists,
Right.
What's most important is that we get I hate to say it, but the academians in there, the researchers, before the general public gets in there with the occasional graffiti
Right.
writers. So
Exactly.
we really have to, first and foremost, protect these sites. And you'll note in my book, Secrets of Ancient America, I rarely describe sites. In fact, I disguise them. And
Good for
this
you.
is
Thank you for
an
doing
important
that.
part of what we got to do,
Because
because they're
people will
literally,
destroy.
the history is disappearing before our
Yeah,
eyes.
and a lot of people, they don't care. They want to destroy. I want to show another picture, and this is something that a lot of people, honestly, would probably just go, that it just looks like a rock. But what is this as you're looking at it, and
Right.
explain what
Okay,
this is.
so there was another picture accompanying that of the Serpent Mound. And what we're looking at here is that's the Serpent Mound, and it's a giant, the largest American earthwork, and it's pretty famous. You can get in and see it.
Is that Minnesota?
But this is an earthwork of a large serpent eating a disc. Now, what we're looking at here in a California site is a light serpent
Oh, wow.
on the equinox. So this light serpent forms on the rock as the sun comes up. It moves across the panel, and then what you're looking at is 3 concentric circles, and the jaw, the open jaw of that light serpent is eating, if you will, or specifically is lined up to consume that inner circle or egg in the 3 concentric circles. And it only works on the the equinox. So here we have this motif of the serpent mound, of a serpent consuming a disc or a sun or an egg.
Right.
And in California, we have an archaeoastronomical representation of this motif of a light serpent on the equinox moving horizontally across the panel to consume the inner egg. And it's an incredible message, and there's just a lot there. So really, this is one of the discoveries presented in the book of the light serpent of California, which we trace back to the greater Indus Valley cultures.
And that book is Secrets of Ancient America. And the website you gave us earlier, is it newhistoryofamerica.com?
That's correct, newhistoryofamerica.com. They can get a copy of the book there and have a way to communicate with me,
Awesome.
as well as some more details on my background and in archaeology, as well as in the renewable energy and the garbology area. If people are interested in following my renewable energy research, specifically as it relates to industrial hemp, legalization and processing and applications, please visit purehemptech.com. That's purehemptech.com, or newhistoryofamerica.com to get a copy of the book and to find out more about my adventures in rock art.
And are you going to be doing lectures or seminars or anything like that coming up we need to know about?
Well, I'd sure like to come back on your show and talk about hemp, but the truth is
You
that I am so consumed right now on the hemp revolution in America, and working with growers, working with communities that want to see economic development, working with growers in agriculture that want to see rural revitalization,
Yes.
and working with end product manufacturers that are looking for bio-based chemicals, bio-based plastics, and bio-based products that are not made from oil, but that are made from plant-based materials like industrial hemp. So look forward to hearing from people, and please call me back, wind me up, and talk about industrial hemp.
Well, listen, unfortunately, we're out of time, and we have so much more to talk about just about your book, The Secrets of Ancient America. We're going to have you back again, and then we're going to have you back to talk about more about the hemp technology. And I'm gonna refer you to one of our shows here on UBN that just started a few months ago. It's called Elevate the Conversation with Dr. 420, and you guys would match perfectly. I mean, just because you guys are both on the same journey of trying to, educate, and that's why I love the title, Elevate the Conversation. But this has been, Carl, this has been so much fun, and I would wouldn't it be a dream just to go with Carl on some of these sites?
To some of these sites. And
you should
you
do
should
tours.
Put that together, Carl.
Come on.
Well, I'd love to, but there's only so much passion in this world.
I know.
And writing that book and doing the research over 20 years, and then writing it for 3 or 4, I got a little spent. So I'm reducing my passion with the industrial hemp revolution right now.
All right. Well,
then you take a nap and then you come back.
but definitely, please come back.
So
This has been
everybody,
enjoyable.
yeah. One last time, this is Carl Lehrburger, and you can check him out at newhistoryofamerica.com. Also check out purehemptech.com. His book is Secrets of Ancient America. And as you can tell just by listening to him speak, we're all seduced. We're all in love. We're bewitched. And you're coming back. So we love you and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Carl. We appreciate you.
Bye.
And good journeys to you, Tony and Eddie, and your radio listening audience.
Thank you so much.
Please.
We appreciate you.
All right. Well, you guys, we're out of here, but we want you guys to stick around for Shar Vision. That's going to be best of. Please go to truthbetoldwebtv.com and listen to all of our past shows, see who are guests coming up for April, already booking for May, and we have some amazing guests. I know, Eddie, next week we have
Mark Mezzadorian, and we have Reverend Keith Horowitz.
and it's going to be a great show as
It is.
always. And then, see, Eddie's going to be leaving for a couple weeks in May. Eddie, tell him where you're going.
Going to Peru. We're going up to Machu Picchu, and we're going to do some wonderful exploration up there. And we're taking a group of 23 people with us.
And he's leaving me behind. Thank you, Eddie. I
Bye.
really appreciate that. So,
I'm so sad.
I'm going to say, yeah, I'm sure you are. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to us every week right here on UBN Radio. Please go to our YouTube page, Truth Be Told with Tony and Eddie. We have, I think, almost 4,200 subscribers now. We appreciate every single subscribers.
Yes.
Please leave your comments, good or bad. We love both. I don't care. I love both. I love hearing from you guys. Let us know. Let us know who you want to have on the show.
That's how we learn.
That's how we learn. And so if you want to listen to our podcast, please go to iTunes and now on iHeartRadio. We're so honored to be there. And you guys are just knocking the socks on. I mean, you guys are downloading, and we really appreciate you for doing that. All right. Well, Eddie, thank you so much. Happy birthday, Eddie.
Thank you.
And we want to wish you guys a great weekend and have a great week until next week. This is Truth Be Told with Tony and Eddie. I'm Tony Sweet.
I'm Eddie Connor.
We're out.